Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
Today, this month we usually do in December, we usually do holiday type things.
Yes.
And we're not doing so much this year. If you feel like seeing us in a holiday spirit, look in the archives.
Yeah. Because it's been one of those kind of years.
No, the reason I wanted to do the show today is I did something called no sparge mashing.
Which to me sounds like sacrilege. I mean, really. How do you not sparge?
Well, that's a good question. And when I put out there, the reason I did it was I did an interview with Chris Colby, editor of Brew Your Own magazine, because there was an article in Brew Your Own on no sparge brewing. And I tweeted out there on Twitter. You can follow me on Basic Brewing on Twitter. I tweeted out there, going to talk to Chris Colby about no sparge brewing. What are your questions? And some of them were like, what? So yeah. You're not alone by thinking that there's something odd about not wanting to rinse the sugars out of your grain. Now, for those of you who don't know a lot about all grain brewing or haven't done it yet, sparging is essentially...
It's just rinsing with hot water.
Exactly.
So the idea is that you make this wort, you make this mash, and you pull the wort out of the mash, and then you're left with all this sticky goodness that's still on the grain. So you take some other hot water that you've got sitting off to the side, and you sparge with it. That's your sparge water, and you let that filter through, and it pulls all of the sugar away, all the fermentables.
Right. Or as much as you can.
Well, as much as you can. Not technically all of them.
But you can over-sparge and pull some astringency out of the husks, which is one of the advantages of no sparge brewing.
I can see that too, yeah.
So the author of the article said that, Dave is his name, I think, the reason that he got into it was that he was trying to make an English mild, which is a very malty style of beer, and it usually uses something like a Maris Otter or something like that. Something that has malt that has a lot of character to it. And he was trying to get as much efficiency out of his mash as possible, and really over-rinsing or over-sparging, and his milds were just too astringent or not malty enough. So he decided to do this no-sparge method, and he wound up with a maltier beer that was a lot more pleasant and a lot closer to the style that he was looking for.
That's very interesting that you say that, because I've had beers, when you said that, it triggered my memory. I've had beers that were very much like that. They were very simple, straight-ahead English-style beers, and they had kind of an astringent back to them. Not terrible, not so much you wouldn't drink it, don't get me wrong, but still, it's not quite right. That would solve that problem. I get that.
Well, let's talk about how I made this beer.
Okay.
Here is the malt bill for the beer. 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms of two-row, 10.5 ounces or 298 grams of 20 Lovibond Crystal, 7.5 ounces of Cara Vienna or 213 grams of that, and 1 ounce of chocolate malt or 28 grams of that. Now, what I did was I started out with all the brewing water that I would need for this batch and put all of it in my 10-gallon mash tun. I put 8 gallons in there and then added the grains to it and let it sit. And one thing that you can do to improve your efficiency is to stir every now and then, and I did that throughout the mash, this hour-long mash. Then at the end, all you do is you do a Vorlauf. In other words, you let some of the wort drain out, and then you pour it back into the top, and you let it drain out, and you pour it back into the top until the wort is clear. And then you just run all of that into your kettle. And then you're done. You don't sparge at all. Which is extremely easy.
Could you combine this technique with brew in the bag?
Yes, you can, and I've done that, in fact. In fact, in the next episode, we will have a beer that was done with the sneak preview that I did with that technique. So stay tuned for that. So anyway, the hops for this beer, just in case you're curious, and if you want to, you can go ahead and start pouring.
Okay.
It was half an ounce of each of these which is about 14 grams of each of these. Half an ounce of Magnum hops at 60 minutes. All these are pellets. Half an ounce of Cascade, 30 minutes. And then a half an ounce of Styrian Goldings for 5 minutes. And I used Safale US, or not US, but Safale S04, which is an English ale yeast, because I wanted to kind of have an Englishy thing. Now, the original gravity was only 1047. So I'm losing some efficiency. So if you want a higher gravity beer, you can always add, a pound or two more of grain. Grain's fairly cheap still.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping that what I'm losing in efficiency in the sugars that were lost in not sparging, I hope that I'm gaining in a more malty flavor. So this is only a 4.9% alcohol by volume beer. So
Yeah.
try it and see what you think.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's good. Oh.
A little surprise.
That was a little wake up. It's got a. It's. You said it was fruity, and it is.
It's fruity
very
from
nice.
the yeast. We found that the Safale SO4 is a fairly fruity estery yeast, which is designed to be, or not designed to be, but that's what they market it as. It's maybe a little. I'm calling this an American mild, which may be an oxymoron.
You don't know my cousin Sherm. He's an American mild. I can tell you.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
There's anything wrong with that.
Not that, and there's nothing wrong with this beer. This is a very nice, tasty. It's not, a hop bomb by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very nice kind of malty session beer.
It really is.
Which you would, and I'm not saying that this recipe fits within that mild BJCP style category. I don't know if it would get dinged for being too hoppy or whatever. If it were.
It's not very hoppy. I'll tell you what really surprises me. The little at the end was I get a little bit of that chocolate malt, which I wasn't expecting. I mean, 1 ounce of chocolate didn't ring my bell is going to turn it into a stout.
Right.
But it's there.
And this is a 5-gallon or 20-liter thereabouts batch.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a really nice component to it, and it's all for my palate. It's all in the back end, and that might be the most pronounced thing I think about this beer.
Really?
As far as the flavor profile, it just boom, that just little chocolate.
Just because it's a contrast with what you were
There's
expecting?
a contrast. Yeah, it's like I don't expect that chocolate flavor in there at all. To look at it or to think about the what it mostly is, and the kind of I don't know the yeast you'd use that to make a stout with too, but I don't know. It's a nice beer and good effort.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So try it. I mean, if you've got a style that you want to bring the maltiness out in, try No Sparge Brewing, and let us know what you think.
I think I'm going to try it. I've never done it, but our friend has inspired me, and you've inspired me. So there you go.
There you go. Happy holidays to you. We'll see you again before the end of the year, but I hope that all of you and yours have a very safe and happy holiday season.
You bet. Happy brewing.
Cheers.
Come and visit us on the web at basicbrewing.com. You can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, Introduction to Wine Kits, and for a limited time, our 2012 Brewer's Logbook. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to James at basicbrewing.com, Steve at basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
We put the hat on the Christmas tree, we don't remember why.